Hello, everybody. It's Friday night and it's Weekender time once more. This week, I'm joined by John, Free, and Warren as we take a meander through the latest and greatest in gaming and tabletop news. We have a Warhammer-esque indie. We have an old-school Rogue Trader-esque Kickstarter. And in between that, we check out some of the big flea boys from the new Ash Waste Nomads. So sit back and relax because your weekend starts here. Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Friday night and your Weekender. And another month has gone by already. I'd like to point that out. This year is accelerating at a rate of knots. It's
It's crazy. It is absolutely crazy. We're not enough days to get all of our hobby time in.
No,
I know.
You're right, there is not. And I've tried creating some extra days, but nobody seems to have cottoned on to it yet, so it's I feel it's a lost cause in that respect.
Jerry, you kind of lost your powers after that whole 7-day thing. And then, you know, it's like whenever you rested,
never
I reckon.
take a rest.
Yeah, never take a rest. You should have just kept going and on.
So that's the problem. Once you sit down, you won't get back up again.
Resurrected, back for good.
You whenever you send things like biblical floods and stuff like that, Jerry, you know, it kind of uses up your time.
Takes a lot out of you. It does take a lot out of you. What also takes a lot out of me is playing Shay. If you haven't been paying attention, we've been doing a Stargrave theme week all week for the last Prospector from Osprey. You can watch Shay hand me my hat multiple times.
It's probably worth pointing out, Jerry, that for anybody that doesn't know, Shay is literally our young Padawan. Okay, we are training him up in the ways of the Force, to basically to take over from all of us at some point. You know?
Just when I need another rest, that would be key. So if you haven't already seen anything, there's a little chat from me and Shay as we build our crews. There's a little mini campaign I put together using some of the scenarios from the last Prospector, and a wrap up as to how well or badly our crews have managed to make that little sector of the galaxy. And if that's not all, there's even an interview coming tomorrow with Joe McCullough himself, talking about the book and his plans for the future. There's also prizes. 3 prizes. If you want a chance to win any of those, you need to comment on those particular videos. But you can comment on YouTube. That'll get you an entry. You can comment here on OTT. And if you are a Cult of Games member, you've got an extra chance. And each one of those bundles contains the last Prospector expansion, the main Stargrave rulebook, and one of the new Plastic Crew 2 sets.
I tell you what, Jerry, let's include this video in the mix.
Oh, okay.
All right.
Fancy.
So they can comment on this one as well.
This one as well. There you go.
Oh, there you go. That's
so plenty of videos to go and watch. And
I've got to say, I have been loving Stargrave Week. I really have. Do you know what the ability? This obviously goes back to Frostgrave, right? Frostgrave broke a mold a little bit. You know, that whole thing of thou shalt have these minis to play this game. And to suddenly just to give you the flexibility and the freedom to knock all sorts of stuff together, you know, and Stargrave is a continuation of that. Now, here's the thing. There was nothing stopping any of us from doing that in the first place. But I like McCullough's work. I'm a big fan of the Joe, right? And what I like about Joe is Joe focuses on making a great game, and a game that you can make your own quite easily. I like the cut of the man's jib, Jerry. I really like him as a game designer.
It's the fact that he puts you in the driving seat of creating your own little narrative.
Yes.
For whatever it is, whether in Frostgrave it's a pair of wizards, or if you're taking to the stars with your own crew.
The guy gets it.
Yeah.
He just gets it. He absolutely gets it. That, you know, for many of us, we don't want to be embroiled in too much complicated structures and constraints and narrative to the point where you can't do anything for thinking you're doing it wrong.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? You never think you never ever think you're getting it right because there's so much there that gives you that impression that you're doing it wrong. And
that you can just pick and choose between the bits and pieces he releases as well. So you can dive as deeply or just paddle in the shallows. It's up to you, really.
And Joe McCullough is basically on Stargrave the savior of Games Workshop because everybody knows they're not making any money at the moment. But I will admit it's been a long time since I've bought anything. I haven't been particularly inspired by a lot of it because I like my minis to be quite agnostic these days. I like them. I like to buy minis because I can think of something to do with them rather than necessarily place them into a scene. And it's just where I'm at this point in my life. It may well change again. However, they released those bugs with dudes on the back. Do you remember the pictures of them?
Yep. Yeah. Right. Oh, yeah.
You'll get to see them front and center in the news later on as well.
Right. They totally got me. And then Tom told me they actually come out on my birthday.
Oh, there you go.
Is that a subtle hint as to what you want for your birthday?
Well, it's not often that I get to flex on the show or whatever, guys. But some boxes of those minis.
Socks and book tokens, the gift that keeps on giving. That's what you'll be getting.
So yeah, Stargrave week has been great, and we're not finished yet, Jerry.
No.
Because next week's a big one.
It is. Anybody who's seen my crew from Stargrave will know there's a certain homage or three in there to a movie and TV franchise that has dominated the world for the past 40 years. And next week,
next week is Coronation Street week on Tabletop.
I'm all about it. I'm all about the Deer's Head, Nag's Head, Queen's Arms. I have no idea what the pub's called in the place. Never watched Coronation Street in my life. I know they have a bar.
I'm going to cosplay as Benny.
Is he not from Crossroads? Crossroads. Anyway.
Interesting turn of events.
May the 4th and
May the 4th.
Wenge of the Sith.
Yeah! Star Wars week next week. We wait for this. It's one of our holidays, isn't it? It's something we can get excited about. It's Star Wars week. We've got stuff going on for May the 4th. We've got things are happening.
Tell us. So Free basically jumped in and said, all you guys, you're not doing anything. Shop and let me take over. I'm taking care of May the 4th. And we said, Free, you go for it. Who are we to argue?
Yeah, so just let me crack on with it, really. So we've got some really good stuff happening next week. So on the Wednesday, we have got... I should talk about what's happening first, actually, to go in on the Wednesday, because that would make more sense. So on Friday, there's going to be a post going out, which is today, because we don't pre-record these or anything like that. There is a post going out about Hero Forge, and we want you to create some characters that fit in seamlessly in the Star Wars universe. There are 3 categories you can get involved in. There is, are you sure this is the droid you're looking for?
Okay.
You're right, there's your first one. The second is a Cantina Dweller. So someone you'll find around the canteen. And False Unawakened. So this could go Sith route, this could go Jedi route, but this is undiscovered. They could be young, they could be older, but they're out there in the wide world of Star Wars. So we have got 3 categories, and the best thing about it is the winners of each of these 3 categories get their lovely Hero Forge miniature sent out to them as well as part of their prize. So
they design them.
Yes.
They share the link to their designs in the comments underneath the post and on Tabletop.
Yeah.
We pick the 3 winners, one for each category.
Mm-hmm.
And then we will get those minis printed and made and sent to them, yeah?
Yeah, that's the one. So there's going to be more information in the post that you'll be able to see today. And you've got until next Wednesday, you've got May the 4th to get all of your entries in. That gives us plenty of time to have a look at everybody's and make sure that we get our winners picked on next week's Weekender, which is a very special Star Wars episode of Revenge of the Sixth. So
Delightful.
a day full of Star Wars content, let alone all of the rest of stuff we had planned for May 4th. So looking forward to seeing what kind of creations you guys come up with.
This is going to be awesome.
I loved the last time we did a character creation competition. Speedo Goblin really does live close to my heart. It does.
Yes.
Yeah.
It has a special place above my head. I can't get rid of it, not even with therapy and medication. So thanks for the pink.
I'm looking forward to seeing Y-Front Java this time.
We don't know what kind of thing you're finding in the canteen. No.
Right. I think that gets everybody up to speed with what's coming and what's been happening. So now it's time to kick off the show proper with our...
I was about to do it all gently.
Oh, sorry. I just had to jump in. It just
it controlled you.
It just takes me over. You know, it's like some sort of weird form of demonic possession.
This week, we're dipping into King Games from the Danelaw and having a look at Dunkeldorf. So we've seen their Kickstarters in the past, but we've never actually explored the range as a whole, which they've put together over the course of time. Sven's better. That is both what he sells and also an idea of exactly what Sven's like as a person. But this is
it's Sven that owns the company?
No.
I thought you said Sven.
Oh, yes. Sven is...
Oh, Sven there. All right. Okay. It's not Wang that owns the company then, no?
No.
Okay, good. That is good. I can stop laughing now then.
The best way. But this is a range of fantasy miniatures sort of heavily inspired by the old world.
Holy
the illustrations within there.
These are all costing thousands of something.
Yes, Danish krona. I think it's the equivalent of some cinnamon rolls.
All right, okay.
So it's not too bad when you convert it.
I like cinnamon rolls. Yeah, that's not too bad. That works out a good conversion. These are amazing.
But they've put together a whole host of things through various Kickstarters to populate your fantasy tabletops. They use them incorrectly for role-playing.
No, they don't, Jerry.
Okay.
No, they don't.
Just the worst. But
I love that dog.
Look at the
great dog. A big face. Oh, he's so cute.
The armored
chicken's pretty good, though.
The lazy cat as well. I quite like as well. The peacock comes from the Prancing Peacock bar, but it means that over time they've built up through several Kickstarter campaigns a delightful range of figures who all have their own little backstory within the town of Dunkeldorf and the characters and creatures that inhabit it. Which means you can, if you're after some unusual little familiars or pets to go with characters, then you can find them in here. But also you'll find a whole host of them unusually set, I would say, within this world. I do like Dieter's cat because you've seen him hanging out on a chair earlier. You can see that you can pick him up.
He's just a lazy cat. Yeah.
He is just made just to hang off things, windowsills, wherever you want.
Oh, it's so cute. I love it.
The world's first magnetized cat. So you just move him around your terrain. Put him on stools, put him on chairs.
Stick him on a Land Raider, John.
Yeah, exactly. Makes perfect sense. And it really does have that old hammer, old
these are incredible.
Because, you know, you can tell none of those are royalty because they're all covered in filth.
Yes.
And they've got a smile on their face. Well, the upper class would
this
never
one has a smile inside a cross-eyed look. I think that's what may have been dropped on his head as a child. And cobblestones are not particularly soft.
But
look, they've got some lovely filth here.
The turnips.
Now, they are called the Gong family, so I imagine that is actually...
right, okay.
Because you used to get gong buckets and people would go along and collect it, you know. So, but everybody is named, as you can see here, the Gong farmer family: Gerhard, Gertrude, and Gerd.
Gerd.
Gerd Gong. You know, and they have this
Gerd Gong Almighty.
Yeah.
What on earth is that? That's someone with the plague.
He's a creepy muto.
That's interesting. And
obviously, this came originally from Warhammer Fantasy Roleplay, the game that they were playing themselves, and then they wanted characters within that world, and they just sort of expanded from there. So you have that very chaos cultist hidden in the middle of the Empire, and then occasionally something, explodes out, and then people will be looking to staple his ears to the underside of a bridge at high tide, just to get rid of them. But they're an absolutely sensational set of figures, not just for gamers, but for painters, for people who want to do little vignettes or dioramas.
These are incredible.
I dread to think. Well, I'm assuming that's for opening bottles.
Let's hope so.
She's not just going to shiv somebody because she's pissed as
got
at
one
3 a.m.
Yeah.
She does have one eye, yeah.
Or just slightly sore.
Agnes is a member of Sven's gang and thoroughly enjoys all of the free Sven's bitter that comes with the job.
Nice.
We've seen Sven lurking by his stand earlier.
All of this just reminds me of Macrofelt, Jerry.
It would make a lot of sense. Imagine most of these people are better dressed than a lot of people in Macrofelt, though.
But they probably were. They're more wealthy than the folk in Macrofelt. But it's like this just reminds me of. I'm feeling really homesick. I'm feeling really homesick. As I want to go back to my village and meet up with the rest of the gongs.
Yeah.
So
get your wheelbarrow full of filth.
Yeah.
Go down Main Street.
I know this guy. I know this guy. This guy used to drink in Mary's bar. So,
and he's still there to this day.
And bits of him are.
But it's just such
that's an incredible range.
Wonderful, wonderful range.
Yeah.
And this is King Games' own range.
Yes. Yeah, they are just a store, as you can see probably in the background there, where they have various things. But Dunkeldorf is just their own. We have a store. We like gaming. We want our own range. Why not do this thing?
Oh, it's fab. It is absolutely fab.
I'm really liking the texture.
That lass is there.
The clothes seem really soft, if that makes sense. So you come across, it's
depends who's wearing them. For somebody like Claudia there, the daughter of a rich man, she obviously has some of the finest of accoutrement. But there are some of the other people kicking around less so. It has to be said.
And they have pot plants, Jerry.
They have pot plants. They have a whole range of flowers and botanist parts and scattered train boards that you can pin up. Odd jobs that need done around the town on, things like that. So if you're looking to add scatter to your tabletop or add things, there's a board that goes outside a butcher shop that just is covered in sausages and smoked meats. And it's things like that. You're going, that's a really nice touch. Why hasn't nobody done that before? And what's he selling? Well, what's outside the front door? We know what he's selling. Yeah. You can see it. You can see there's a wealthy man there. Make a great paymaster for Dogs of War Army.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I've just
is that the chambermaid? Is she on a toilet? Is that? That would be a chamber pot, wouldn't it?
Could be that.
Florian the Curtain.
There's Frida the herbalist enjoying life.
Yeah.
Just in from the fields picking.
Free, that is you.
It's free on the weekend. That's
that's free on a Friday night after the show.
Barefoot and carefree.
From the woods, yeah, you got that right. Flowers in my hair, out to the woods.
And then that's free the next morning.
Yes. Still, same bit.
Especially the space buds.
Oh, here we go. There's Justin with hair.
Impressive crotch.
He'll clip that off.
Everybody needs a male courtesan.
They're so bright. They're painted wise.
Floria. I do like there's the meat rack. I do like the paint jobs that they do on them. I think a lot of them are done by Nicky himself, I should say.
Can you bring up Halfbert there for me? Just over to the side. Keep going. There we go.
Oh, look him.
There he is. He's fantastic.
It's the little glimmer in his eyes.
Ginger feet.
It comes in pints.
Yeah, apparently it does. And It's the size of a halfling's torso.
Love it.
Adorable.
And then there's the meat rack.
I just love the fact, I've killed the side apparently. That's just my one in life.
You've done this before, Jerry.
I often kill people's sides. There we go.
There we go.
Well, it's just little things like that. So the miniatures themselves are metal, but then these little add-ons are resin
pieces.
Nice.
And they're, in the majority of cases, I think they're one-piece cast. Even some things like the tables and chairs and stools that you can get. So you can pick up a stool to pop the sitters on, or they can get like a long bench.
Get helmet. Yeah, him. You're right over him. Helmet the drunkard. Up. Oh no, you're not over him. That's my mouse. Confusing
me.
Many a time. Why am I doing? Well, I'm not moving the mouse that way yet.
Oh, look at that!
I mean,
he's spilling his beer.
Just inside a tavern, outside a tavern.
Yeah, one shoe off. God, we've all been there, haven't we?
Imagine somebody was checking to see if he'd any money hidden
in the shoe. Yeah. And there's the witch hunter, yeah.
The witch hunter. There's a couple of
really
chaos mutants kicking around town that he needs to be really checking out, see what they're up to.
Oh, these are incredible. Hands down, these are absolutely incredible.
It's just such a beautiful, bespoke range, and it's nice to see gamers essentially go, what does it take to get miniatures made or get a range that is bespoke, unique to us, that we want to see on the tabletop, because
and beautifully characterful, right?
Yeah.
Oh, massively so.
Which I'll be honest is going to become more of a rarity, because I don't find that a lot of the CGI sculpts, the computer generated sculpts and stuff that we see these days, have nearly as much character in them. So
I know what you mean. That I don't want to say sterile, but there's
they're almost too perfect.
There's a character in flaws.
Yes.
That you get with hand sculpt, and it's difficult, not impossible, but difficult to recreate. No Princess Space Buns.
There you go.
No way I look like as a noble now. Brilliant.
But yeah, I 100% agree. I think it's going to be interesting.
Ruth the Mutant, Jerry,
as to whether or not people decide to stick with the more time-consuming and laborious style of sculpting as opposed to the 3D.
I really hope we do not lose this. I think it would be a crying shame for us as an industry to lose this hand sculpted metal cast stuff. It's I think it would be a real crying shame, because as collector's pieces, they are a joy to own.
Yeah,
they are an absolute joy to own.
Oh, 100%. And I mean, anybody who's thinking about playing Mordheim or playing Frostgrave, or Rangers of Shadow Deep, or things like that, where you can just pick up whatever you want to play with.
Yeah,
being able to populate a village or a town with with these bits and pieces in there. You can have your pets, you can have the weird bits, or if you want to just go ahead and do a diorama or do some scratch build, being able to pick up things like lanterns and benches and tables and wall decorations. I mean,
makes all the difference, to a gaming table.
Yeah,
even that stuff would play well in Moonstone, Jerry. Do you know what I mean? It's scatter and the like. So
having some deer's heads and orcs heads on the wall of your pub.
Ah, that's nice.
Why not? Or your nobleman's house with the sword above the fire, and just little touches like that, I think lend so much.
Look at that. Isn't that a beautiful, beautiful miniature?
Everybody needs a bard until they destroy the town/continent they're standing on when they fund it. Just say, bards are the worst. But yeah, the range is not unsubstantial these days, having had, I think, 3 Kickstarters in the past 3 years. They've made
it's a fair bit there, yeah.
They've made a big Galvy bucket of character models, and anybody who's thinking about diving into fantasy gaming should definitely be checking them out.
It's the facial expressions that have got me in these miniatures because quite a lot they're so particular. You can really see who's more pompous, and you can really see the simpleton guy. He was so
pompous,
and there's nothing generic about any of the characters in this.
Not at all.
No,
do you know what I mean? It's each one, their expression is really full on. You know, it's I love it.
Yeah, so there we have it. Like I say, we've talked about them in the past when they had Kickstarters running, but we never really decided to explore the range. And I think now is a good time. Well, lots of stuff are available. The worst part of that guy is the comb over. It's not the boils. It's not the leprousness of him. It's that comb over.
It's almost Danny DeVito Penguin.
Just shave it off, man.
Almost.
Shave it off.
King James, absolutely fantastic.
So there we have it. We're going to take a quick swish, and when we come back, we'll be telling you all the bestest news from the past week.
Coming to you from the center of Northwestern Europe, covering board games, war games, card games, and all that you love. It's the news.
Okay, we're back to dive right into the news, as Benjamino likes to say, because he's very fond of his diving.
Yes. You quite like a meander, though, don't you?
I'm much happier with me. Dive just seems too risque and right in there, right in your face. I'd much rather approach them subtly so they don't know I'm coming.
Yeah.
From behind. And all of a sudden, bam, news item. So and we're going to kick off with Offensive Miniatures. So we've looked at these guys in the past. They do some beautiful World War II figures, and this time round they're doing a set of 8 German character models based on Sven Hassel's novels. So if people are unaware of Sven, he wrote a whole slew of books about this character in the middle called Sven Hassel. Sven isn't really called Sven. Sven has a much longer Danish name that I don't know. And he may or may not have actually participated in the war and spent time in a POW camp. It's all a bit murky. His past would make an interesting read in and of itself. However, he took his supposed ideas of what happened to him in the war and then recombined them into this group. So if you think of this as like the German Dirty Dozen, it's a Panzer Penal Battalion, which never existed anyway. And these guys are the main characters from his book that have been rendered by Offensive Miniatures, which means you've got a really interesting set of German veterans that you can then go ahead and chuck in to your games or play weird skirmish games with.
And if they're all dirty, Jerry, that means I get to call one of them Hans Bogen.
That makes sense. Terrible sense.
I'm here all week, folks.
The awesome yellow top hat by Yusuf in a card game before the war, and he wears it everywhere. The books themselves are massive sellers. If people are not aware of them, they're very good reads. Just don't read them as historically accurate. Think of them as like Sharp. They are war adjacent. But it does mean that you've got a really unique set of sculpts who have that feel. So if you're familiar with the novels, you've got those in there, like the Old Man and the rest, and you can see underneath there's a little blurb about how they come a cropper in the actual books themselves. They also, because the books cover the entirety of the war from the formation of the group, they're in a hodgepodge of uniforms for different fronts as well. Mm-hmm. So they do feel like a veteran band. Tiny in of himself is a thing of beauty.
That's incredible, isn't it?
They do look very Howling Commandos.
I need to, Jerry, all we need to do is paint that ammo belt orange.
Oh, yeah.
And he'll look like he's walking up the middle of Belfast,
Just change the field grey gloves to whites and away goes.
That's him, yeah.
I quite like the fact that they've put the effort in to capture the characters from the books, which means you can just go in there and have them. And if you're a fan of the books and maybe not a World War II gamer, that might be a nice thing to have as a collection of figures. But as just a veteran squad with sniper, with machine gun, that sort of thing, to have a really unique looking squad for something like bolt action on the tabletop, I think it would be a really nice buy. To have the diversity of them. Also, they're scaled for 28 mil, but if I go back to this one, you can see Tiny is substantially bigger because Tiny is
ironic.
Tiny, yeah, ironic. If people haven't read the books and want to see a terrible adaptation of it, there was a movie made based on, I think, the Wheels of Terror called Misfit Brigade, which came out in like the late 80s. So, Sven was still writing these up until, Sven or his wife were still writing these right up to the very, very end. And the Misfit Brigade has a lot of people in it you would recognize, like David Carradine, Ollie Reed.
Good grief.
Oh, God, the guy from Warriors. Come out and play. But yeah, it's a beautiful cast, just a terrible movie. Played more for giggles and laughs, kind of like a police academy in World War II, which is a bit surreal. But yeah, if people are interested in taking a look at the
I know exactly what to do with these, Jerry.
Mm-hmm.
So in days gone by, there was a game called Secrets of the Third Reich.
I'm aware of its work. Yeah.
Right. So what I would use these for is because they're a beautiful little band of misfits, right? I would have them having to escape from a Nazi science dungeon, right? And basically having to, I want to keep it as historically accurate as possible. So they're battling werewolves.
Accurate as the novels were.
To try and get out, right? Yep. And what you could have is you could have your, that these guys somehow ended up in the dungeon, a bit like a Reichbusters kind of thing, but an alternative Reichbusters team that is just trying to fight their way out. Because let's be honest, monsters are on nobody's side, right? So you get the right werewolves, they're not on anybody's side. They're going to eat anybody, right? So you could have your Americans trying to fight their way out and these guys trying to fight their way out. And if they met, the players could decide, we're going to work together to get out past the werewolves, or are we just going to fight it out here with the werewolves and all in place? I think it'd be amazing because they're so characterful.
Yeah.
I think that'd be awesome. Imagine like giving Tiny special rules where you have to try and hide him.
Well, yeah.
It'd be awesome.
They say you can run, but you can't hide your legs. Especially when you're that size.
No, I did a Nazi dungeon once, and I mean on tabletop, right? But I was inspired by, what was it? Was it Wolfenstein that we used to play on the PC way back in the day? The first kind of 3D kind of game where you were rocking in and around. So we built this kind of dungeon. We had lots of ammo crates and things like that. And I created these banners. I made it really kind of Indiana Jonesy. So I had lots of little red banners I had the swastika and stuff on them at the time because I wasn't as sensitive back then to just whatever thing it was. But you can put any kind of symbol you want on it. But yes, it was plastered in swastikas. But I was just trying to recapture that whole Indiana Jones kind of thing where it was really pulpy, really, really far out on the pulp. Kind of look. But yeah, these wee minis are awesome for the likes of that kind of intricate dungeon crawling.
Things like a Fistful of Lead as a game system, very light type of thing.
Yeah.
Just having your handful of characters in there, or even Dead Man's Hand, which I know is a Western one, but you could retheme it very easily. And it's all it's narrative based in a 3-act structure because you're essentially retelling films on the tabletop. So something like that again would work very well. But yeah, if you're interested in your World War II, you should check out Offensive Miniatures. And moving from one band of misfits to another free.
Did you guys know that it's been 20 years since the release / cancellation of Firefly? It's been 20 years.
And people still won't shut up about it.
Oh yeah, I know. So all jokes aside, the fact that we celebrate a short-lived show today, it's quite interesting. So what I found out this week is there is another board game tabletop game title coming from Gale with some new ventures into Firefly. But this time, players are going to be entering a deck building game and taking control of one faction each in Firefly, Misbehavin. I'm saying it that way because it's an apostrophe at the end. Pronounce things correctly. And it is coming this year. So, along with the celebrations of the 20th anniversary, Gale are also celebrating their 10-year anniversary with Firefly. So they've released before Firefly the game and Firefly Adventures, and now we've got a new one on the horizon, and it is firming the anniversary date. So 2 to 4 players are going to need to deck build, as each player is going to be put in charge of a different faction that belong within the universe. So they have said that players are going to get a chance to play as Eastdown, Niska, the Alliance, or Serenity. So you're going to be working off a hand of cards, which you're going to need to find familiar faces, items, and locations on the board. So players are going to explore the universe and hope to control reach of different factions and build a sassy space crew to see through space. But it might not be that sassy because you don't have Nathan Fillion out on the table. It's not that sassy. But, you know, heading out to the core border and rim, you're going to be sure to find someone very interesting. So there is an episode mode as well to play through if you're keen on adventuring as part of the campaign. This is going to include scenarios and focus on as you travel through some space-filled hijinks. So there's not that much there regarding the title at the moment, but other than the price is going to be roughly around $65. And the fact that you're going to need to take your opponents probably about an hour's worth of gameplay, and the fact we're going to be seeing it by the end of the year is just some really nice news to know that we're still not letting go of Firefly. It is still returning.
It's going to be making a comeback.
It got announced this a month ago that Disney own Fox now, and Disney have gone, yeah, we're rebooting.
Oh,
there we go.
So God knows
there we go.
It won't be the original crew. But this fascinates me because obviously you've got the Alliance, they've got all the money in the world.
Yeah.
You've got the Serenity, no money. I imagine it will be asymmetric. Evestown, I couldn't get until I seen the bowler hat, so I'm assuming that's Badger. And then Niska's everybody's favourite murdering space Polishman.
Yeah.
So it's an unusual little grouping that they've put together for people to have.
It is really interesting.
You're not all just running ships. It's not one of these, all of you are ships and you all need to make the most money by doing jobs. So presumably, I imagine asymmetric builds and asymmetric game conditions to win as well, victory conditions. Mm-hmm. Because why would the Alliance need to move cows?
No.
They won't.
They don't need it.
Wipe a few planets off the galactic map, on the other hand. You know, that's completely on board with that. And Niska's just a delightful man who just really likes to get to know people in great detail. Niska for space president.
You're reminding me of that episode now, and I don't.
It's great. It's an amazing one.
It's been a long time. Need to rewatch. It does need a rewatch. Given the anniversary, maybe.
Well, you know, Captain, why did you not touch my wife? It's just stuff like that. What?
Moving swiftly on.
I demand you kiss my wife.
Yeah. Where are we off to?
We are going to take a swift turn in the way of sci-fi, but going from the gritty realism of Firefly to the grim dark far future of the Warhamster 40,000s and Necromunda. So Tom had been taunting you with these.
Yes.
Warren.
Here we go.
But we now have the full sort of breakdown of what's coming for the Ash Wastes box set for Necromunda. And, you know, there's a lot in it.
The terrain's pretty cool, actually.
You're paying for it, but there's a lot in it.
Yeah. I do like, I like that terrain because I can think of a myriad of other ways other than Necromunda that I could use that terrain.
Mm-hmm.
I'll skip down to the space yurts then.
These are very Star Wars, aren't they?
Yeah, no, it's not unlike and everything. It's not unlike what we did for Dark Age, John, was it a few years back, where we created, where we took a modular sci-fi building station, and then we added all those kinds of fabric canopies and awnings and things like that.
That's right. Yep, that was Dark Age. Yeah.
Yeah. So this is not unfamiliar territory to me. And I think it would fit with Star Wars just beautifully.
I like that it doesn't have a bunch of Aquila all over it.
Yeah.
They've managed to throttle back on the excessive use of Aquila and skulls on everything.
Yes,
as far as the terrain part.
This is why this is probably this is one of the best terrain sets they've done in a long time. It doesn't look partial. Do you know what I mean? Remember some of the Kill Team and Necromunda boxes just had kind of bitty terrain in it, and it didn't look complete. That looks complete to me. And if you were lucky enough to own a couple of box sets of that, that's a lot of terrain, for building a scenario around. So I really, really like this, and like I said, I'd be really happy to run terrain like that in an RPG, in Stargrave, in a Star Wars game. I think it looks great.
Yeah.
Another thing that, on the subject of the terrain side, there's a double-sided paper mat. And the interesting thing for me is, rather than giving you two different locations, it's the same location, but one's at night.
Oh, that's nice.
I don't think I've seen any other companies do that before.
Yeah.
It's
do
nice.
The same map, but in two different times, essentially.
Yeah.
And I'm just thinking about that.
Nice,
that's different,
actually.
because you could go the whole hog. You could paint your Orlocks with their quad bikes and stuff in sort of shades of blues and purples, like it is now.
Wow,
and then
yeah.
you have the OSL from the headlights and from the guns.
Yeah.
Presumably
that brings me back. There was a video game I played years ago. I'm trying to remember what it was. It might have been one of the Ghost Recons or something like that. And whatever one it was interesting because there was a map where you had led an attack or something like that during the day. But then you had to go back there at night at one point. And it was really, really fun because it felt familiar but different.
Yes.
Going back to it and fighting there in the dark. That's a nice touch, actually.
Well, they say the rules contain a campaign system that you can play out either using the new game or the new gangs, or using your old gangs, and it's an narrative campaign. So presumably there must be night fighting missions in there, and that's the reason they've done it.
Yeah,
that would be my guess. They haven't gone into any real detail on that. Apart from the book and frippery, obviously you get the two gangs as well. So I think we'd seen these before. The Orlocks are old models, but the quad bikes are exciting and new, which I quite like the look of those. They're industrial looking. They're a bit post-apocalyptic, but they look like they could actually work.
Yeah, do you know? Like, there's not a darn thing wrong with them models. No, they're nice. They're Mad Max. They're not particularly inspiring. Unless I would imagine that if you're deeply into the background and stuff like that, you'll get a lot more out of these than someone more like myself who just is on the periphery of the narrative. And to me, that they're nice, they're okay, but post-apocalyptic Mad Max stuff doesn't particularly do it for me anyway.
Just want to punk them up.
What about your flea bags then?
That is different. That is, and it's interesting. I posted a thing to FacePage about this. And the number of people, including a load of other industry designers and stuff, that commented in that with me, we all agreed that is something quite spectacular there in the piece of the design. These guys are all right. They're sand people, all right? They're fine. They're a little bit too cluttered for me, but it's just because I'm an old fart got these days, and all that extra detail is almost lost on me. But scroll up to the juice. Just look at that.
Helamites.
Oh, good grief! They are incredible. Oh, I need it. I need a couple of boxes of these. I really do. Could I paint them? I don't know. I would like to try those speed paints from Army Painter to see if it would make it easy to slosh some paint on it.
They're nice. These intrigue me. I don't know what you think about this, John. They have a very ramshackle Tusken Raider look.
They do, yeah.
But every man jack of them has got one of the most high-tech helmets on that I've seen.
Yeah.
And it's very uniform across the board.
Maybe they're a bit like that movie Oblivion, where the humans are hiding from the aliens and dressing up with like fancy high-tech stuff, but they look unusual just because they're wearing tech that hides them.
Yeah.
Might be the way.
I wouldn't say that.
Or they could just be a bunch of 3 other space marines. Let's be honest. It's like,
well,
they're not all into polishing their helmets every night.
No.
Some of them just want to go out and grab an old bin bag and stick it on.
I'm just going to be honest. I'm not inspired by any of it.
Well, is there not enough tracks on them bugs, John? Is that it?
I just dislike everything for Necromunda. Every model that's come out for it, including this stuff, is just boring.
Oh, you're out of hole.
It's boring.
Oh, look, I'll give it to you that a big chunk of it's boring. It's boring even to me. But them dudes on them fleas. No, there's nothing boring about that, man. They are incredible. You could use them
different, yeah, but it's.
Dude, I can see those fleas bouncing up Sword Beach during D-Day, right?
In your fever dreams, one.
But they'd be repelled by the Misfit Brigade at the top of the hill. So
that's it, yeah.
There's also a couple of characters coming. So there's Bad Santa here, and
with Sarah Connor,
his rocket launching Sarah Connor, and then there's also, you'll like this, another Fleabag, which is a Stormcaller, so some sort of psychic mystic.
Look at that false leg on that Fleabag.
Yeah.
That's very cool.
Maybe they're particularly rare, so you can't just go out and get another one whenever it loses a limb and you actually have to repair it.
He's saddled on this one. The other ones weren't saddled on, and that made
the other one's not saddled.
They didn't look it. They looked like they were just stuck on the back with the
just hanging on. Maybe it's a different breed of unusual Hellamite, I believe is the actual name.
Yeah, is that skulls hanging out the arse of that?
No, it's tied around its mouth. Yeah, this looks like a slightly different animal.
Yeah,
to that one. Because it's got a different face. You see they've got tied it on around the...
Oh, yes, that's the front. That's not the back. Sometimes it's hard to tell.
It is. It's very hard to tell. Now, do you want the interesting news about this character and this character?
Do we see the... Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah.
I think I know where this is going.
Yeah, you might not know where this is going.
They cost £100 each and there's only 5 of them.
I've no idea. Yeah. Probably and almost certainly. So the Ash Waste rulebook contains the updated Necromunda core rules plus the new rules for fighting outside and getting on vehicles and blah, blah, blah. It contains the Ash Waste Nomad list. It does not contain the rules for either of those 2 character models who will be added in a supplement that is coming soon. So the new rules aren't out yet, and already it's semi-obsolete and not complete.
Stargrave.
Yes.
Stargrave.
That's wonderful terrain, though.
Space Rangers of Shadowdeep, Joe. Let's do it. Space Rangers of Shadowdeep. You know, we've got to kill this. We have got to kill this stupid nonsense of here's a game and here's the models. Oh, but these 2 models aren't in it yet. All right, are they coming out in an FAQ? I'm strange you didn't put them in the book. No, not an FAQ. No, they're not in the book. But you get to buy another book. That'll make you happy. And the thing about it is I'm not against the buying of things. What I'm against is rules and games sprawling across. Because one of the worst... I played the worst game of my life with the nicest people I've met, right? It was a lovely game with nice people. One of those dudes knew 40K and knows 40K probably better than anybody else I know in the world, including a load of folk in the studio over in Nottingham. He's immense. But the number of books that guy had to troll through in 7th edition, in 7th ed, to try and make that game function was horrendous. It was one of the worst, most clunky experiences of a game I have ever had. So, I'm not complaining for complaining's sake, but every time you do that, you make a game potentially more and more clunky as people are reaching for this tome, reaching for that tome, just to try and push some minis around a table.
It's more down to it's like an anti-consumer move. Yeah, it's not consumer friendly, is what I'm trying to say.
Mm-hmm.
You know, particularly with 40k, when a new codex comes out, and then 2 weeks later the FAQ for that codex comes out because someone forgot to read page 67.
Well, I can understand mistakes, right? And on the consumer friendly front, we don't live in a consumer friendly world at the moment. No. Okay, you know, people that sell, I don't know, mice are sticking up the price. Oh, it's doubled in price. Why is that? Oh, you know, oil. Yeah, right. It's like they're doing it all over the place. So consumer wise, you know, all of that stuff. Do you know what? Like, you can set that to a side. We could argue about that all day. But the biggest problem is, I think it ruins the game experience. I think it just ruins the game experience. I think, you know, keeping it self-contained in a tome that you and your buddy have one book that you're referencing to between you, and it just runs, you know, rather than, well, what happens now? Which book's that in? Oh, I have to go to this book now. I have to go back to that book now.
On a side note, Jerry, we're tackling something like that on Saturday, aren't we?
We are, yeah. If people are being particularly interested in getting into 40k but don't want to have to go jumping through a million hoops and 15 books.
What's this now?
John and myself are going to be exploring alternatives. So yeah, you can just tune in on Saturday and find out.
Is this a live stream, is it?
No. It'll just be a level. We will culminate it with a live stream game, mind you. That is the plan at the moment. But to begin with, we're just going to be doing a little bit of an army build and
nice.
And this has been published. We're putting this out on tomorrow, then, yeah.
The first one comes out tomorrow.
Yeah, the first video is on Saturday. Yeah.
Letting people know what our plans are. Our plans for total global domination.
Well,
nice.
I will be there, or be square. Have I complained enough now? But can I just say, I love them flea bags, man. Well, I absolutely love those flea bags.
This is the thing. Can you imagine someone coming in and saying, oh, wow, I'm really drawn to Necromunda now because these are really different. These are something I've never seen before. This is something. And then you get these new people that come out. Wow, I really like this. I'm going to buy all my flea bags and get into it. No, you can't. Why not? What about this book? Well, you need this book as well. It's really hard to access for somebody that's just been drawn in. It's not easily accessible for someone who's looking to play Necromunda, really.
It's a brave new world, they tell me.
It doesn't bother me because I'm going to have Luke Skywalker trying to kill those people on the flea bags anyway. Flea bags versus AT-ATs.
That's what a Womp Rat looks like. That's why he was in Beggars Canyon targeting them. But moving away from that, what's been going on with Warcradle?
Yesterday, Warcradle Studios showcased their upcoming and newest releases for both Dystopian Wars and World War Exodus. So there's a few new products coming on the roster, and they'll be coming out for May's releases. So first up, the French get ready to kickstart their navy with the, I want to say Oriflamme. I can't speak French.
Sure.
Battle fleets. But the Pride of Republic is proceeding forward. So they're giving the Latin Alliance a new string to their bow. So this set of miniatures allows players to just build a powerful naval force on the table. At the head of the fleet, you're going to have the Oriflamme battleship. It's got stunning craftsmanship. And the battleship will be cutting through ways as fast as you can say Mazowski. Right, along with the main battleship, there's going to be 2 cruisers in the box, which can be built in 4 different ways. So you have got the Chevalier class cruisers, which are able to launch screens of torpedoes up ahead. You've got the Charlemagne heavy cruiser, which is decked out with guns, and more guns. The Lorry light cruisers, which sit on the forefront and they're first to engage. And you've got the Picardy class, which are pretty durable in the shallow water, and a last line of defence for civilians. So along with Oriflamme and the cruisers, you've got the 4 Curie frigates.
Sure.
The first is French.
The French is amazing.
Someone in the audience is French, and they're going to be sitting there going like this the whole time. But Ben does it every week. It's my time to destroy a language.
The good thing is, whenever they complain, they'll complain in French because they won't sully themselves by writing in English, so we won't know.
Yes.
There you go. So thanks ahead for the abuse. But you've got the frigates for the first line of defence on the flank and teamed up with target attack against enemy vessels. So we saw that. The Anatolia battle fleet has made preparation. That will be coming out in impending release. And the Sultanate is preparing accordingly for reinforcements to parallel the Latin Alliance's recent movement. So we've got the Sultanate frontline squadrons coming next month too. So they're going to be providing players a variety of options.
Who's this one we're looking at?
The Sultanate.
That's the Sultanate.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So is this are these an Arabian-y kind of a faction, is it, or what's the?
I think they are.
Scroll down there till we see. What does it say? The Sultanate. I'm really interested in this one. I want to go and check this one out.
I imagine because everything has a sort of
it does have that
First World
Arabian
War-ish.
Yeah.
But you know that period. I imagine this would be your Ottoman Turkish.
Yes.
So you're around there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Because they were, massive.
But these are great. So if you do want to fortify,
I think they're a delight.
Hey.
See what you did there. So if you did get the last battle fleet, which was the Anatolia battle fleet, and you do want to diversify your cruisers a bit more, so you can get the frontline squadrons to change around your cruisers. So you can get, it will contain 4 frigates within the box, and you get 2 different cruisers, and they can be built as an Iskandar, Izmir, Pasha, or Sadrazam class ships, or even better, they can be combined together to unleash an epic Hurum Grand Cruiser or a fierce Mohammed Grand Monitor. So
Zoids.
It's just all coming to it. You've got big robots, you've got everything.
You practice these names, haven't you? You practice those names.
So
they're easy. They're phonetic, they are. Yeah. They're quite good, those ones, John. But
I really like the look of the Frenchies there.
It's gorgeous.
It has all this Baroque and Rococo style filigree on the front, which is completely flamboyant and unnecessary.
It's lovely. It's very French, isn't it? Yeah.
And they've got Belfast Botanical Gardens shed.
They do.
On the back of it there as well.
And the City Hall there at the front.
Yes,
so
I can imagine these to be painted up beautifully, though.
Oh, they will. They will, no doubt about that.
I cannot wait to see these painted up. But if you are feeling a bit Wild West Exodus to be specific, Apex Hellions are returned to the table this month. So you may have seen this mechanical vulture-looking zombie-type creatures before from Wild West Exodus. Mm-hmm. These are contained within the Murder of the Hellion Posse set, but you can get them on their lonesome if you want next month. So they'll be swooping down with their mechanical vulture wings once again, and the Enlightened have proved the petrifying and disturbing experience in the name of science once more.
So you see,
petrifying again, disturbing. This is recycling. This is what we need.
Yes,
the Enlightened's creations are so disturbing.
This is where the miniature collector of me kicks in, because I immediately look at those and I go, "Oh wow." And whether you play Wild West Exodus or anything, you look at the likes of that and you think I'm immediately thinking to myself in like an RPG or something like that. Wouldn't they make the most amazing mid-level bodies? They just come out of nowhere. I'm getting like a Van Helsing kind of a vibe.
Ah, yeah.
Do you remember in Van Helsing when the vampires,
the brides came in?
The brides flew in, right? Oh, yeah. I have a scene like that in my mind. With my Hugh Jackman there and these critters flying in like the monkeys out of Wizards of Oz. Yeah.
I was wondering who was going to make the first monkey reference, because I was very close to it. They're just missing their little hats.
But no, I love it, and they are steampunky enough for you to be able to pull it off in a fantasy universe. Do you know what I mean? It's so they're not sci-fi per se. They're in that territory that Wild West Exodus kind of is, where it has the Victoriana steampunky kind of thing. So a lot of the Wild West Exodus range can deviate forward or back in the timeline of the games that we play. So very cool.
All of these releases should be on pre-order today, so you can expect them to be released nearer the end of the back month, nearer the back end of next month. I got my sentence together in the end. Well done.
You got it.
You went full
Your
French is improving.
It's not even May the 4th yet.
No, it is not. I'm slowly melting. But yeah,
Nice that you practiced that in advance.
The hardest bit, I got through all of the names and everything and fell on a basic sentence. Hooray. Where are we off to next, Jerry?
Oh, we're going to have to take a quick swing at the Ancients. So Temple of the West have released 3 command packs for Clash of Spears, Rise of Eagles, which is their, you'll like this, Warren, it's the early Imperial Roman period, because I know you're very keen on your periods.
Yes.
So this gives you a set of heroes and command figures that you can use in your Clash of Spears games, or any game, let's face it, in 28mm. These have been sculpted by Stavros, again, who did the original stuff for Fighting Hedgehog for the Kickstarter. And when he did those, he matched them to Victrix Plastics. Likewise, again, these scale with Victrix Plastics, which means if you pick up a big bag of 60-odd Dacians, then you can get your heroes, champions, and leaders for the same. I do like my Dacians. I like a bit of a Falx. You know, it's better than a Rumpia. It points the right
I like that kind of hobby horse thing. My kids used to play with them. I wonder, does he literally stick up between his legs and around the battlifield? That would be amazing.
When he runs out of the long part to blow it, because it is a horn.
It's a horn!
Exactly what he does. It's Karnak.
Suffering horny horse!
Well, he could be as well. I'm
100%. I imagine that's what it does. It gets him through the wee small hours of the night.
The horniest hobby horse I've ever seen. So there you go.
There's also a set of Germanic Celts.
Oh, here you go.
So, again, nice looking set of figures. 1 musician, 1 standard, which is all you need if you're playing Clash, because you're only ever going to really attach them to a high level commander to up their sphere of influence, but then you've got some other heroes in there. I will say I'm not a fan of cast spears. As you can see, they're a bit wobbly. They'll come straight off and be replaced with brass or steel as soon as I get them. But don't worry, that's already planned in. That's purchasing. And the final and biggest pack is the Spartacus, essentially the Third Servile War, when the gladiators revolted. There is a list, so you can play skirmishes between gladiators and Romans as they try and escape. And this pack has got Ace of the Best, lovely, unique, characterful gladiators, which is a tricky bunch of fellas to get your hands on in 28mm, I will say. There are a few companies about there do a small smattering of gladiators, which means if you want to build a big force of them up for an army, you're kind of buying from everybody if you don't just want the same thing repeated multiple times. So I'm always happy to see more. As somebody pointed out in our comments, Justin is there.
Yes, there he is. And he's even got his wrist jobbies on. His arm braces. Yeah.
We found Justin this week. Nice.
So I'm really looking forward to these. Well, really looking forward to these arriving with me. Let's face it. Because we all know I've ordered them. If you are watching this on Friday, you've got about that much time to do pre-order, because there's pre-orders in both the US and UK through North Star, where you can get all 3 packs at a reduced price. £6 odd off. If you miss out on the pre-order, they're still reasonable price, and they all come with the relevant cards for you to play Clash of Spears with as well, which is a nice touch. You don't need the cards to play Clash. You can just write down an army list like the rest of us did in the old days. You lazy young'uns, you. But if you do happen to be catching this as we launch it, then you've still got time to go and grab it. It'll save you the price of postage, let's face it. It'll get you a pint. But I'm really happy to see these. So that's 3 more factions for me to add to my Clash of Spears, because I don't have enough things that I'm adding to it on a regular basis. What can I say?
I've been spending some time in the Ancients. I go to sleep these nights listening to history audiobooks and things.
Yeah.
And so the two areas, and I'm fascinated a lot by the ancients, but the two areas that I'm most fascinated in is I'm spent a lot of time in ancient Egypt. Okay, way back, from 18th dynasty back. So Ramses back, basically. And then the other area that I'm really getting into at the moment, and it makes my heart sing, and that is ancient India, right? So back in when the Indians had their own flying saucers and nuclear weapons and the likes. Because I am going to recreate Balu Bahi on the tabletop some of these days. Free. You haven't seen Bahi yet.
No.
Do you have Netflix?
Yes.
I'm going to send you a link to the two movies that are going to change your life.
Is it? Yeah. The groundbreaking movies.
Very incredible as well.
Totally historically accurate. You'll learn loads from it. Okay. Now, this must have been at a time either before or after the Indians had flying saucers and nuclear weapons and stuff, but they were pretty close in this movie. The other stuff that was, in my opinion, just as effective. The flaming blanket of death is probably still my favorite military move ever. I think that there's been nothing that was as effective as that. I suppose Blitzkrieg, maybe, but it's, but that was the most effective strategical military, thing that I can think of. But anyway.
I'll add it to my list, considering the last movie you gave me was Velocipastor. It's the next one. I'll add it.
Bahubali is incredible. I mean, absolutely incredible. I'm going to go and watch it after this show. I think I'm just going to go back and watch it. It needs to be
inspired.
But I will be. Look, I'm immersing myself in this ancient period, Jerry, because I will be at some point in the future coming back with some gaming options and the approach to gaming in that period, because I think my deep research into this will pay off with some seriously educational material.
I can't wait to see the educational material that is presented to all and sundry for them to muse upon.
You're gonna love it, man. You're gonna love it. I'm highly confident.
Yeah, we all know that it's nothing but the most historically accurate tabletop gamings that get you going. So,
yeah, absolutely. Every time.
Right.
What's next?
Next up, we have an announcement from Wizkids about their Onslaught game, which is coming later on this year for Dungeons and Dragons. So this is a set of pre-paints in a miniature skirmish game set within, I believe, just the general D&D universe, the generic start off. Card and dice driven, where you have a sort of a feel of the Mordheim behind it, where you have a gang or a party, I suppose, of murder hobos attempting to butcher their way through the various areas within the Dungeons & Dragons world to steal all the stuff belonging to other people, like poor dog-faced people and trolls and, of course, dragons, if you really want all of the hordes of gold. So don't know a huge amount about the mechanics yet, although some people are positing that it may be based on some previous Wizkids card games. But what we do know is it will be essentially a flat map-based tabletop with your miniatures on it. The game itself includes the cards, the dice, the 21 pre-paints, and a couple of standees. Not sure what the standees are for because they include things like the dragon in the set. But it has a big feel of the old Star Wars and Dungeons and Dragons pre-paint blind buy stuff.
Yeah, the old Wizards of the Coast stuff.
The old Wizards of the Coast stuff. So I don't know if it's some sort of blend of the card game and the D20 system put together. But it'll be interesting to see where they go and how people run with this, or if it just languishes, because the stuff looks okay for pre-paints.
Mm-hmm.
Do we have any actual shots of them?
No,
real, not just renders.
No, it's just renders at the moment.
Oh, you see,
so I'd see
they're not going to look like that,
and that's where it comes in because the price point is $140 to order. Now, that's the 2 gangs plus the monsters. So the monsters do include the dragon. But it's where on that scale are you going to get value for money for that, or are you going to get poor pre-paints? Because the pre-paint blind buys were bad, but cheap in comparison. But you just didn't know what you were going to be getting from one moment to the next.
We'll have to wait and see what the quality of them is like. I have no doubt about the quality of the sculpts. Wizkids introduced pre-primed and stuff like that. And the sculpts were beautiful. They can do the sculpts. But the actual paint that will be the defining factor in this. So, and its value, to me at least, will be very much based on the quality of the painting, because
that's a nice dragon.
The monsters are okay, but all of these monsters,
there are plenty of them out there from other companies.
There are plenty of them out there. They're not. There's not a lot unique around that. So.
No, 100%. It'll be backed up by campaigns and downloads and free supplements and things like that. So
that's nice.
They have a narrative structure in place that they're planning on pushing forward with it, so that people can play these things out. But the sort of the price point they're aiming for puts it at the top end of. Well,
let me look.
Because you could pick up the same ones from.
If you're jumping up and down about that dragon, right? You could go to your local toy shop and buy a Schleck dragon, which will be beautifully pre-painted, for 17 quid. Right? So, I wouldn't buy the pack for the dragon. I have better pre-painted dragons already. I say better. We'll wait and see.
Yeah.
Are they offering an option without all the models, Because that would be a really nice... Because it allow you to, model.
Use the models you already have, potentially.
Yeah.
Maybe.
Not what they're
it definitely take down the price a bit as well, because I can imagine.
I don't want to put them off, because I want to see a thriving pre-painted section of the industry. I want somebody to nail it.
Every time people try it, they fall over, and then
it's been super tricky so far. Really, really tricky so far. So, and the fact that the marketing engine has ramped up with renders rather than photos, leaves me concerned. Why not show your photos? Why not show what you're actually selling rather than what you kind of hope you're selling?
That they haven't produced any yet.
Yeah,
because it's not going to launch until September. So we've
we have time
half a year
between now and then. Yeah,
but one to keep an eye on. There is an Onslaught page that you can go to if you want to know more and have a nosy about it. It is just dndonslaught.com, and have a wee gander at some of those things. The renders are on there as well, and some of the other tiles and bits and bobs. But it'll be fascinating to see where it goes in the long run.
Is it time for a swish?
It is. When we come back, we'll be taking a look at some Kickstarters.
Did you win one of our prizes? Find out on our prize claim center over at OnTableTop.com. Here we list all our previous prizes and those who have won. If you see your username, fill out the form to claim your prize. All prizes must be claimed within 30 days.
Okay, folks, we are back with a couple of Kickstarters. 2 very tiny ones. One more expensive. But I couldn't let these first ones go past without aiming people at them, as is my want in life, and for a very good reason. First off, we're going to take a look at some dwarves, because Ben isn't here this week. And if we didn't take a look at some dwarves, people would feel lost and alone.
Yes, absolutely.
You do. Every time you say...
These are the dwarves I was expecting. Yeah. Ben is going to be so missing out, man.
It's terrible, really, isn't it?
Is this the new GW release? I didn't know they did Kickstarters now.
No, it's not. It's better than that.
Yes.
Ninja Bread, or Curis, or Chris Webb, depending on where you know him from. If you
Curis,
if you frequent the OnTableTop site, you'll probably see a lot of his work. He does some beautiful paint work. He's been doing it for a lot of companies like GW, Mantic, and a whole host of others for years. And he decided that he wanted to release some models of his own in a 90s style, a classic retro look. That was the little flyer we seen. And I mean, that couldn't be more 90s.
It's perfect, isn't it?
Than anything ever. So it's a very small Kickstarter. It's only running for another week after you see this. It is just the 5 models. You get the little captain.
That's lovely.
And you know he's in charge because he's both pointing and he's not wearing a helmet. Mm-hmm. He's just missing the foot on rock for the trifecta. But there you have him in all his lovely glory, wearing his quilted jerkin, like all proper space dwarves should.
And it's amazing because the minis are painted beautifully. The minis are painted
gorgeous,
with a fairly modern heavy metal style. But the basing is so old school, man.
Goblin green sand, not even flock or any of that nonsense. Just bubbly sand.
Nice.
The standard trooper then with the worm bolt rifle.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, I think it is just one sculpt, so you get 3 of the same sculpt. But very crisp details, very sharp. Has that Viking look with the spectacle helm on and the sort of lobster back guard, and again, grenades and quilting everywhere. And doesn't he just look adorable?
It's just dope.
Spin, my beautiful space dwarf, spin for the sheer joy of spinning. And last but by no means least, if you need to kill an awful lot of orcs on the tabletop, then use your Hellstrom autocannon. And there we have it. Proper shoulder-mounted, old-school heavy weapon. And there they are. Beautiful fun.
That is just cracking.
I absolutely love these. They're going to be cast, I think, mostly as one piece, although things like the Hellstrom there is probably going to be weapon separate, but cast as resin, so crisply detailed.
If you just wait, scroll up.
Yeah,
I think that weapon is held on with blue tack. Watch.
It might be because it's
there's the blue tack.
Yeah.
So there you go. Answered question there, Jerry.
Blue tack is optional for obviously your own stuff.
There you go.
But he's even done a selection of various dwarves from various companies, so you can see how they fit in scale wise. So we've got Macrocosm and Mantic and old GW and all sorts.
Who does that orange rusky looking dwarf there?
The one in the middle, I think that's another Macrocosm one. Middle row, Citadel, Ironclaw.
That's awesome.
Ironclaw. So I have to have a look at them in the future. This one at the very far end threw me because I'm going, there's a human there. Apparently that's GW's new dwarfs, courtesy of Forge World.
Oh.
I'm going, so not a human. Okay.
They're quite leggy, aren't they?
They're massive. Primaris dwarves. But anyway, I just thought it's really nice to see a community member chucking a Kickstarter out there.
It is.
It's a small one.
Absolutely.
People are interested. They can jump in and get it. The initial run, which is going to be delivered in June, has already sold out. The follow-up run that was going to be delivered in September has sold out. Now, if you want them, you're going to have to wait till October. And there's only 8 of those left at the time of filming. So doing it in waves, depending on how quickly you jump in, how quickly you'll get them. But if you're after a touch of the old school for your tabletop, then these will do the job beautifully.
Fantastic.
Now,
what's next?
Sticking with Curis.
But
moving to Fogou.
Fogou!
Because Curis
I sit up in my chair.
Curis has painted these, as he always does. This is a very short campaign, so you'll have 4 days left. It finishes
4 days left
Tuesday.
on this one, yeah.
But a little bit of change this time from the longer ones that are normally run, where there's lots of stretch goals and bits and bobs being added. This is self-contained. This is the Grave Concern, so it's a set of barrow entrances, some dry stone walls and casks. That's it. 50 quid will get you the lot. There's nothing going to be added to this. There's no messing around. It's nice. Do it quickly, do it relatively short, and get the stuff out to people as quickly as possible. I have one of their, in fact, it's sitting in front of me, barrows already that he did a long time ago. And these are just essentially flat resin cast pieces then that you build up the back of it using polystyrene or papier mâché or whatever you want to use. So you can fill your tabletop with a load of Celtic or Dark Age looking entrances. But if you're playing...
There's places like this in Ireland. There's a number of these kind of tombs, isn't there?
Yeah. Barrow tombs and long tombs and long houses and all sorts.
Beautiful.
So there's a slew of different shape and sizes. They are theoretically 28 mil, but as he points out himself, they're pretty much scale agnostic. If you want to play these with 15s or whatever, it won't make a difference because it is just massive rocks layered on top of massive rocks. And it's just a case of how you display them. I really like these, apart from the fact of being able to have a load of barrows and tombs and that sort of thing for some sort of Dark Age site. I like the idea of like a goblin village or an orc village or barbarian village that isn't just huts, just a load of little mounds of hills with
hobbit hole, like almost style.
Dark Age hobbit holes. Because that will be, I like to make my scenery work for me in multiple ways. Also, set of dry stone walls. This is in a similar style to his other bits and pieces, so like the barrows we've seen above, and like the Skellig Michael style beehive huts and stuff. They have that, but they also have he did it for the ring fort, where it's like interlocking stonework that hides the join when you put them, because there's original ones just butted flat, whereas these sort of interlock, so it masks where the joins are. They're also curved walls, which is great because a lot of the old stone cattle pens and sort of defensive ditches and stuff, certainly around Ireland and Scotland, and presumably down in Cornwall where Fogou's from, you get a lot of these circular rather than just flush.
Navan, is it Navan Fort?
Navan
is
Fort,
circular.
Oh, it's a massive one, yeah. Older than the Great Pyramid. So,
is it older than the Great Pyramid?
Oh, yeah. Oh, fly-by-night merchants there in Egypt coming sauntering in at the last minute.
Yeah.
Making people think they're great. We were knocking up brick things ages ago.
See?
It's there when it was written,
very much so. I was going to move that stone a bit to the left. But yeah, a couple of straights, but mostly rings and ditches and stuff, which I'd really like. I just like being able to keep that sort of natural semi-historical flow. I like circles.
Yeah.
I like curves. I like straight lines.
Barrels
and casks. So just bits of more scatter. He does a lot of scatter already: beehive, cooking ovens, and baskets, and wicker things, and clay pots and stuff. So just a simple set of scatter terrain to add to your tabletop or in and around your bases, and that's it. That's the whole kit and caboodle. If you're after some walls, some barrow entrances, then he's got you covered. If you're after a ton of extra stuff, then you can jump over to Fogou's website. I think you might be able to add some of this in as add-ons as well. I know generally in the past he's let people order stuff from the store to save on shipping. So the Fogou stuff is particularly nice. You can get a Fogou resin head badge if you shout around.
Nice.
Fortunately, I'm not social, so I won't be getting one of those.
Oh,
But yeah, if you're interested in your Dark Age or your fantasy, I think those are two beautiful little sets, the walls and the barrow fronts, and it gives you just options when you're putting stuff on your tabletop, because everybody sees a green polystyrene hill. Stick a door on the front of it. It's still a green polystyrene hill as far as gaming. So it just changes up a bit. Very nice for the likes of Slain as well, because a lot of people are playing the old song.
Oh yeah. It would work lovely with Slain, wouldn't it?
Now,
I want to set
picks out the way. Right, my little teeny tiny shivers there. But Tycho Starport. This is a substantial range of STL files for adding to your sci-fi tabletops, specifically done for FDM printers.
Right.
Presumably that means you can do them better on resin. I don't know enough about it, but it's a whole host, and when we start going through it, you will see there is a...
It looks very Dead Zone orientated.
It can be used for Dead Zone, quite happily. It can be used for Infinity as well.
Infinity, I was going to...
The fact it's squarials in a lot of cases means that if you want to play with Dead Zone, you can drop it in there quite happily, and you have your multiple levels, because a lot of the stuff you can see there, the hab blocks and like are stackable. Very good for 2000 AD for Dread players as well. Build your mega city and have all the iniquitous people creeping around and in through. But if we start getting down into the meat of the Kickstarter proper before I have a stroke looking at all the shiny moving things. Stop spinning everything! Oh my god! There are a host of industrial and sort of industrial sci-fi buildings that you can get as part of this from Corvus. If we come down about there we go. So you can start seeing some of the test prints here where you've got access into them, which is handy if you're playing a game, especially a skirmish one where you want to be able to get in and around. So they've got roofs, but not floors.
Yeah.
So if you're lifting off the run below type of thing. But you can see the sort of madness and majesty that they put together. That looks like some sort of terrible sci-fi oil rig covered in Skaven out in the Atlantic. And there you see, as you said, good for Dead Zone because they are built around a 3-inch.
They've got that square
system.
footprint thing, yeah.
But obviously you can go much, much further beyond that.
Yeah.
And I really like them. They are generic without being simplistic.
Yeah.
They allow you to put whatever you want on it. If you want to have them as sort of hard sci-fi and very infinity, clean lines, neon colors, you can do that. If you want to have them a bit more like Dead Zone, you dirty them up and weather them down.
Wasteland them, yeah.
Or, your likes of 2000 AD where you want to have it just being a complete, I was going to say something foul there. I will anyway. Show. If you want to have them a complete show, then you can do that too, just by giving them a really heavy weathering and covering them in graffiti and the like. And they just work perfectly well for what you want for your tabletop, which is a way of filling it quickly, and especially for a sci-fi game, you don't want to be messing around with lots of footery extra parts that you don't need. So simple builds or simple prints, I suppose you would call them.
Definitely. I don't know, because of the size and just me printing as per, it does not need any supports by the looks of it. It's just straight up, easy done, print in, file, outcomes. That seems very simple and really easy to build up everything that you need and keep layering up.
They do have a locking system on it, although I imagine you could probably work out a way to put magnets on there if you wanted to instead. But I like mechanical locking. There's less that can go wrong.
Yes.
You can't glue a mechanical lug
backwards,
the wrong polarity and watch as your thing flies off every time you set it down. But it's an extensive collection that they've put together.
That really is,
with
isn't it?
Such a large level of modularity that you can really fill a table without it looking repetitive, I suppose. So there you see the core set for €30 will get you 35 of these building files. Presumably more than that. If you start doing clever things in the CADs of the Tycho and stuff,
you start to clip them together and do all sorts of things. So,
but a simple yet
effective,
absolutely
Kickstarter, and it's the little bits and pieces that they've started to hang on afterwards. Yeah, because having just options for doors again will change the outlook of what you're looking at. Once you've dropped a massive sign on the side of a building, it looks slightly different from his friend beside it, which doesn't have the same thing. Having your awnings open to let people into your burger van or Happy Noodle sushi bar or whatever it happens to be.
It looks like a shooting range part, though, the one on the bottom.
Yep.
Could be. Entirely up to you. If you want to make it that and paint it that way, put a sign outside, have a cat lying in the windowsill. It's all doable. There's our billboards. So yeah, there's a ton of stuff.
Oh, there's a ton of options there, isn't there?
Sort of split down into industrial and commercial districts, I suppose you would say, so that you can home in on the parts that sort of appeal to you, or that you think would be worthwhile. The comms dish is interesting. I know you were saying about not having supports on it. I know I've seen some stuff recently from guys doing stuff in 6mm where they were using the scaffolding from 3D printing to actually make the support scaffolding for the reverse of a comms dish. I'd be interested to see that from behind with that sort of webbing on there, going all GoldenEye. You have Sean Payne dying again. Poor Sean. But yeah, so a lot to get in there if you are interested in your sci-fi.
Happy days.
And beautiful looking set of stuff it is to boot.
Mm-hmm.
There's somebody actually playing Dead Zone. Oh, it's the Family of Gamers. I subscribe to them. I haven't seen that one yet. Why have I not seen that? YouTube
There's your watching for this evening.
YouTube suppresses so many subscriptions at the moment. It's not funny.
Yes, it's not funny at all. Yeah.
No, it really isn't. So as you can see, they've already unlocked a host of stuff.
Wow.
Roof add-ons recently. And next up will be some commercial plaza furniture, so you can have your interesting bits of sculpture for outside of your tower.
That industrial pipeline set looks interesting as well.
Yeah, that does.
I imagine they will hit that without too many issues, because they've almost a week left at the moment, and they're blitzing through these array of knots. Because you know, if you build something that works, people will come along and buy it. I think is the way to go. And you too can get your can silo and greebles.
Well, how many days left on that one?
6 days left for the Tycho spaceport, and you too will be able to invigorate your spaceports for your sci-fi gaming.
Happy days.
I think that wraps us up for another show, folks. If you're not already overwhelmed by the amount of hobby goodness we've given you this week, and you need more, definitely stop by tomorrow. Check out what me and John are getting up to. Heard it here first. Check out all the Stargrave content over the past week if you want to be in with a chance to win any of those prizes. You can comment on this one, and for extra chances on all of the other videos in the other places as well. And on top of all that, we'll be back on Sunday. We spoil you. We do. We spoil you. And we will be back for our Cult of Games members for the XLBS. If you're not already a cultist, come over to OnTableTop.com and sign up for a 30-day trial and listen to us witter on at leisure about our hobby and yours. But until next Friday, have a great week of gaming. Bye-bye.
Go ahead and check out our other content on screen now. And while you're at it, why not hit subscribe and remember to ding our dong. Go on, you know you want to click it. Go on.